Hello there, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Shared Tangos, a Dota 2 podcast with Trent and Zayori. It's episode 18. We're in the middle of May. The lockdown is still in full effect. An exciting 2020 indeed. And today we've got some hot, juicy drama to talk about. We're going to revisit an oldie, but also a goodie. We're going to talk some Dota 2 broadcast rights today. There's been a lot of developments in the industry, you see, and we need to talk about all the cutting edge changes that have been floating around the Reddit space. We also got a fresh one this morning when we woke up, saw the news that newbee accused of match fixing and officially banned from all imbatv events. Wow, I guess allegations, is that the right word at this point, Trent? Not proof. Everything I saw was just like the IMBA statement about them being removed, but I didn't see that much like evidence about what happened.
It sounds pretty bad. It sounds like they have conclusive evidence. Is apparent according to some of the translations, they have chat logs that prove they claim it's proven match fixing, not even allegations. They claim that they have complete concrete proof. They have been banned, and they've sent that proof to Perfect World and Valve.
Okay, well, that sounds pretty ironclad indeed, and I think there's certainly PR risk on the side of IMBA if they're wrong about this against such a high-profile organization.
Yes, I highly doubt they would risk that.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, not to say that means it's 100% true, but yeah, you wouldn't want to put yourself in the spotlight. And remember, China is very competitive when it comes to streaming platforms, and imbatv is one of them. I guess I was going to say one of the bigger ones, but I don't know if that's actually true. I don't know where they scale compared to the others, but 7 players officially listed, or I guess it's 6 players plus the newbie team. So it's Moogie, is it Wizard?
Yep.
Wakesy,
Faith, and I don't have the list in front of me.
AQ. Sorry, I'm
yeah.
having trouble reading it for some reason. AQ and then Feng. Those are the 6 players. So Faith, obviously one of the more high-profile ones, I guess, alongside Moogie. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's insane. Faith and Moogie are definitely the 2 big ones. But like even Wakesy was like kind of an up-and-comer. I can remember when he started standing in for newbee when newbee were still like pretty high-profile, when like SCCC was still on the team and they were just starting to slump a little, but everyone kind of expected them to come back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to hear about this is pretty shocking, frankly. I mean...
Yeah,
it's definitely a undiscussed problem in Dota. It's like, it's crazy to think that there's so many of these betting sites and they cancel bets fairly often and we don't talk about it. That seems like a big deal. Like if there was a bet canceled for some hockey game, even if it was like Division 2 or something, that would be news because they would be like, oh, someone fixed a hockey game?
Yeah, exactly. And part of it with Dota is that there are so many more matches, and there are blurry lines when it gets down to Tier 2, Tier 3 Dota, and you don't really know exactly who the players are. Their real-life identities are just a name listed somewhere. You haven't seen a picture of them.
You don't even know if they are a real person or if they're someone else.
Right. You know, like it's a little harder to spoof if your team's secret and we know who these players are, and there's just a wider degree of focus and visibility on their lives. But in Tier 3 Dota, or like whatever that cusp is where they still serve odds on it, that area is still pretty ripe with match fixing, I think. And it's such a weird conundrum because you really can't accuse someone unless you've got concrete evidence. Like you need like the chat logs that prove intent. That's really it. You can't just go off of correlations and betting trends because sometimes weird shit does happen, and you can ruin somebody's career through accusations, and they don't necessarily have to be founded. So that said, though, I have heard of some very suspicious shit in South America in particular, certainly in Southeast Asia, and I'm sure it happens in CIS as well.
Sorry. Pardon me, sir.
No problem. See, I did this to Trent while we were casting the other day.
No, sorry, I'm in the middle of a podcast.
So now he's able to do it to me, and it's totally fair.
I have power interruption.
Out of context. It seems like a dick move.
No.
But relative to our recent history,
when am I going to lose power?
This is totally fair. Now, is the podcast going to be interrupted? Trent has his headphones on.
Guys.
We're doing play-by-play commentary of real life. Now, Trent,
I can't hear you right now if you're talking to me.
Looking far into the corner, letting us know something we already know, that he cannot hear us. Now, will he lose power in the middle of the podcast, will we have to reschedule this? Will Trent's children go hungry tonight? Stay tuned for the conclusion. Coming to you after this break, brought to you by Shared Tangos. Now, he's put his headset down, and this could indicate that he's going to be on the phone for a while. If this is the power company, I can only imagine the details. Folks, it looks like we're about to get the update. Headset going back on, and... Sorry, I was doing live play-by-play of your phone call.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, I was just joking, but I thought it wasn't going to be a serious phone call. Turns out I'm going to lose power for 2 hours on Sunday, and it would have been right in the middle of when I was supposed to, where I would have been casting that ESL thing had I been available for it. So that would have been a real problem.
Oh, I thought you were going to lose power for the podcast. I was getting ready to shut this shit down, dude. Okay.
Oh, 2 hours, dude. In the middle of a pandemic? Oh, my God. People are going to riot. It's from 9 to 11 a.m. That's a pretty shit time to lose power.
Yeah. Well, the workers are unionized, bud, so they can't work overnight. The workers got to go during prime time.
They got to cut the power to complete some major renovation, apparently.
Well, look out, Nova Scotia. The torches are coming.
I know. It's only like 4 streets, and mine's one of them. It's pretty frustrating. Oh,
wow. Well, that sucks.
Such is the life.
Condolences. So anyway, all that long-winded talk was to say that I think match fixing happens a lot more than we think it does, but because it's hard to prove and then because it happens in all these different countries and different languages across all these cultures, it's very hard for whistleblowers to be in a position where they know definitively what's happening and that it is, quote, worth the risk to go public with that information and, kind of become a watchdog. So there's just a weird... We're going to talk a lot about incentives today. And when it comes to the world of Tier 3 betting, I don't think the incentives are there for people to really be watching it. And as you mentioned, one of the best ways to stay apprised of it is paying attention to when matches get canceled, because most bookmakers have some sort of policy where they're allowed to cancel anything if they suspect that there's foul play. And obviously that is not good for their user base if you were going to win some money and then it gets closed down because someone else threw and you didn't have anything to do with it. That's not a good feeling. So it's not good for the bookmakers either. They don't want it to be publicized because it's bad for their brand.
It's going to be very interesting to see what the evidence is and what games it applies to, because you guys probably saw the Reddit thread that was out today about newbee being banned. And I'm not sure if you guys remember. I think someone linked it it's the second comment, the one where it was it the match where Zhao 8 said he will eat his shit if it's not a 3-2-2. That was a couple months ago, I believe. I mean, here, I'm going to bring up the old thread.
I remember seeing that post.
Yeah, that was 2 months ago, and it was Aven Girls versus Newbie. And I remember Basket was solo casting that game because I was up that morning and watching some of that because I was up early with Grant or Clifford, and I was just like, what is it? I remember Basket was just completely dumbfounded. Like, there were moves happening in that game that just made no sense. But that was Aven Girls actually losing the match themselves. So if that ends up being match fixing all the way back to there too, that's going to be slightly questionable.
Yeah, for sure. That's what makes it so hard to identify with Dota too, because there's just so many variables. Who's to say that like you go for a crazy Huskar pick, it doesn't work, your game sucks, you fucking feed all over the place. Sometimes those matches look a little bit like an intentional throw, and it's not. They just sucked and got outpicked or tried something risky that didn't work or went all in. Those lines are hard to draw, dude.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So I very curious to see the evidence.
Yeah, me too. I loved the second most upvoted comment on the thread that was, damn, Newbie has really gone low. 2014 TI champion. 2015, 2016, consistently top 3 in China. 2017, second place at TI. 2018, disband. 2019, team in North America. 2020, match fixing. Of course, that's a biased lens there, but Jesus. Yeah, that is quite the downward spiral.
Yeah, becoming NA was pretty good. That was pretty funny.
When desperation strikes. So... crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff.
A TI winner, dude.
You hate to see it. Faith in Moogie, man. That's to shout out another Reddit comment. What the fuck? A bunch of morons they have to be. Were they so pessimistic about any hopes of coming back to even T2 forms? It's like, you've already got some money. You've already got some notoriety. Just ride it out, dog. Just fucking ride that shit out like some edibles.
Crazy. I don't know. And it's such a big org, too. And now, to be fair, I believe Newbies put out some sort of a statement, too, right? Where they said basically, like, we're going to be appealing it. It wasn't us. Like, we've never done anything like that. Typical kind of stuff. If anything, it's the org covering for themselves, so they'll just be the 5 players banned, right? They at least want to keep their brand name alive.
So, again, this is hearsay, but apparently there's some talk about the owner of Newbie, and the assumption
yes,
was
I remember that.
he's a super rich individual, and maybe he was at one point, but there's rumors that he's into gambling, and that there
he
might
lost it all in
actually
Macau.
be
You remember
some,
that?
Yeah, that there's some debts associated with that. So I can see why the organization would be incentivized to distance themselves from the players and try to throw the players under the bus, because that's going to be a line that people draw, whether it's true or not. And it's a little sus. Not going to lie.
Crazy though. It's just like I would never have guessed it'd be such a big team name. Like when I think Chinese like big teams, they are in that like big 4 or 5, right? Between like LGD, eHome, IG, Vici, and Newbie. Like those are like humongous team. Like how long has Newbie been a team? 2014. That's crazy.
So. Yeah, dude. They're like a legit brand now. They did a very good job pivoting their TI success into other stuff. That was the whole thing. The players started playing mobile games and all that kind of shit. Like I think the Newbie brand is pretty widely recognized. Weren't they the ones that did the ska perfume that they actually got made?
Yeah, dude.
Like all that shit. Like I think they have actually done great work in terms of branding and embracing the memes and going there. It's not just, wouldn't it be funny if this was real? It's fucking China, dude. It could be real tomorrow. Let's just make it. And they did.
It'd be very interesting to hear, like imagine if this happened in our scene. I wonder what we would hear from other pro players. You know what I mean? Like, I would be very curious to hear what like SCCC would have to say about this. Like these other pro players playing in that league. Like, did they suspect something? Do they believe it? Do they think it's just bullshit?
Yeah, I mean,
but
it's probably the safe play just to distance yourself. You probably don't
shut
wanna,
the hell up.
It's one of those, like, you don't want any attention or connection with you and this subject, good or bad. Just fuck that whole can of worms, I think is the way that would go if I'm not crazy. But
well, alas, again, a developing story, so we'll be getting more info about that, I'm sure, in the coming days, especially Valve's and Perfect World's ruling. So that'll be another update on the next podcast, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. That Valve will probably have to react to this one way or another. Because imbatv bans are only the first step. It's the Valve ban that really gets you.
Yeah, exactly. So far, they have not yet said anything about the current discussion. I mean, to be fair, they already have. Valve, as we're obviously going to move into the old Dota broadcasting rights category now. They put out their statement. It was a few years ago, but I'm sure you guys have all read that statement by now. You know what the rules are. We all know what the rules are. And before we even make this discussion, I do think it's pretty stupid for anyone to be blaming anyone who is going by those rules. Like Bulldog, Gork, Grant. Doesn't matter. They are following the rules. If you don't like rules, that's cool. You can agree to that, but you should be taking it up with Valve and not trying to flame the shit out of these guys.
Yes.
You're not going to get anything doing that. Am I right?
I agree. I think it's unfortunate. What's the way to say it? I think this was inevitable in the sense that Gork and Bulldog are very popular streamers. So by nature of having that spotlight, they're sort of pushed into the front of this discussion. But it's not really a discussion about them. They're a product of the system, a system that they don't control. And again, about incentives, people are always going to min-max systems that, okay, I'm allowed to do this. Great. This might be a little fucked, but the boss says I'm allowed to do it, so I'm doing it. And that makes sense. And I still contend, given the opportunity, if most of the people here watching, listening, complaining, whatever else, had the same opportunity that Bulldog has to sit at home and stream to that many viewers and make that much money and have that much fun while controlling your own brand, you would do the exact fucking same thing, dude.
Hell yeah.
You wouldn't just be like, this isn't the right thing for me to be doing. I'm not going to turn on my stream to 15,000 people. Like, it's different when you're in that seat, dude.
I think apparently I have a pretty different take on this than most people, because I actually I don't really have a giant problem with the system as it is now. I don't think there's this big need. I guess they're in the backside. Like the TOs apparently have better knowledge of how much more money they would make if it was like fully exclusive. But to me, there definitely is a lot of value in what Gork and Bulldog do, and like that's coming from someone who is a talent and who works with these TO orgs. Like, there's no doubt there's still like at least 70% of the people watching Bulldog are just gonna watch Bulldog anyway. And instead of them just watching Bulldog, they are watching your tournament. And maybe they're gonna, when he doesn't stream the tournament the next day, they might come watch your tournament. I hate to be like the it's free promotion kind of bullshit, but there's got to be something there, right? Like,
Yes.
in some way, he is kind of, improving the audience around your tournament.
Yes. Well, I don't know if I'd say improving, but he's bringing people that wouldn't otherwise watch. And that's part of what makes this conversation so difficult, is that a lot of the arguments have some merit and then it gets blown out of proportion. Like, okay, this is 100% true. This is 100% false. And generally, aspects of every argument have degrees of truth. And this is one. Who knows what the percentage is? It probably varies by streamer, but it makes sense. I can't blame the fans for wanting to watch Bulldog. I think the analogies that Kyle drew to Real Sports in his blog were pretty accurate. If I could watch
100%.
Michael Jordan casting the game, 100% I'd watch that over Joe Buck, but there's a reason that doesn't exist, and the incentives are set up differently. So I get why people like watching Bulldog, and some people are just going to watch his stream because they don't care about tournaments unless he's covering it. And that's fine. The issue is that streamer has all of the control to decide what he's going to cover, how, and when. And I'm not saying Bulldog does this, but streamers could, if they wanted to, utilize that power to target specific tournaments. They could say, hey, we really don't like Moonduck, so we're going to cast every single tournament that Moonduck does because we know it takes some of their viewers, and we're not going to cast anything that BTS does. Those are the sort of conundrums that can be put in place in the current system where streamers hold all the cards. I think that's a similar approach to the argument that people were making of, well, why don't TOs just hire Bulldog and Gork for everything? It's like, well, that's a pretty slippery slope. I don't think tournament organizers should be forced into de facto hiring or de facto forced into hiring talent because they have a lot of Twitch viewers if they don't fit into their broadcast plan. Or, do you want Bulldog and Gork at your event? Do they fit into the panel that you're doing? Can you afford to pay Bulldog and Gork?
That's the real thing.
Can you meet the opportunity cost of their stream at home? That's not a fair comparison. TOs just don't have the amount of budget to make the amount of money that Bulldog or Gork can make as an individual at home with all of those viewers. Bulldog gets more viewers than some of the NA matches we had during Midas mode, just streaming himself doing whatever. It's apples and oranges. You can't compare a tournament budget to what you can do as a single streamer if you have that kind of audience. So that's why we need to put some protections in place so that you can, have a little leverage as a tournament organizer.
And so these are interesting thoughts too, because to me, I think the solution probably comes from just putting, like, some people talk about like the caked in ads in the overlay in Dota TV. I see Sir Toxic's talking about in chat too. And I think CSGO does that too. And I heard an interesting discussion about that, how some brands might not want, like, what if some guy streams your thing and does something horrible on his stream and suddenly there's a giant, like, Red Bull logo or whatever, whoever's sponsoring your tournament. That's kind of an interesting conundrum, right? Like, do you think that's a problem? Some people seem to think that would be like an issue for the advertisers. They'd be like, well, I don't want to be associated with just anyone who's streaming this. I'm sponsoring a professional, no cursing or whatever. Let's pretend it's Disney, for example. They strictly want to know about every single talent going to their event.
Dude, that was exactly the example that I was going to use. I think it's a spectrum, and some sponsors are more sensitive to it than others, but I think it's a farce to say that more reach is objectively always better. That is not how all advertisers approach it. Some of them are looking for specific placement, specific reads, branding with... Yeah, specific image. I mean, I know that all too well. Why do you think I got a fucking haircut? Talk about it in the old book there. It was financially motivated. I wanted to get more gigs. There were some tournaments that were kind of like, we don't want some Rastafarian weed smoking motherfucker next to our logo. Like that was, at BTS, there were more than one organization, let's say, that kind of said that. They were just like, we don't want that associated with us. And whether it's true or not, whether people actually would make that connection, it's a fear. It's a risk. And that's what this whole thing comes down to. Advertisers are averse to risk. Yeah. And that's, you want to make their experience as low risk as possible, and that's how you maximize the dollars.
I think there is argument for the idea that you should just be able to make a better product that you shouldn't be losing too many viewers. Like you're always gonna lose some viewers because, for example, I still would watch Crit cast the game over casters, like my own friends for the most part, right? Because I'm gonna learn something from him that I'm probably not gonna learn from them because they're doing a different thing that I'm not interested in. At the same time, there's people that are more interested in hearing the casters. They like the hype. They prefer more of the storytelling aspect compared to someone who's gonna be more quiet the whole time, but is gonna drop a couple knowledge bombs that make you like really improve your own understanding of Dota.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that's good, and I want that to continue. I think there are ways that we can try and make that a little bit better for the TO. I would like to see personally a 10-minute delay option in Dota TV. I don't want TOs to start pulling these third-party tournaments completely off Dota TV because, frankly, that could be the next step. I am not really sure why no one's done it yet.
I mean, it's been tried, and
would there be enough blowback, do you think?
There's a pretty negative reaction, and it's hard to say, like, if someone stuck to it, what the long-term damage would be, and if people would just kind of get over it, and that little blip of anger would fade and be forgotten about once you deliver on some other cool, meme-worthy content or a great interview or some great games. I don't know. I do think that is a potential fix, though. I think 10 minutes is a big enough delay that people fiend for that live feed, and if the TO has that one source that's 10 minutes ahead, that's pretty good. I think that would be fairly effective. I would take that as a compromise as a TO. I mean, if that was the announcement tomorrow, I'd be happy.
Like what if Team Secret was playing a game and like all these people are like, oh, it's not Dota TV. I'm not gonna watch. I'm boycotting. Blah blah blah. Like, bullshit. You're all gonna tune in. Y'all want to watch Team Secret play against Nigma or somebody?
Yeah, Dota's
you're all
not
gonna
that
go to that
organized.
mainstream.
The boycotts aren't that effective, and the Facebook thing from ESL was the most effective boycott type scenario we've ever had, and I've seen that referenced a lot as kind of a negative apples to oranges example of what exclusivity can do. And that's one of those, like, yes, sometimes businesses will make business-driven decisions that don't make the consumers happy. Is that necessarily a bad thing long-term? I think, again, Kyle pointed this out. If ESL did that knowing, hey, these 2 years are going to suck, everyone's going to hate us, but we're going to make $30 million, you know what? We can spend that $30 million to rebuild ourselves after that 2-year period. People are going to forget. We're going to come back to Twitch. They're going to move on. And the end result is that our product is going to be better. And 5 years from now, we're going to be glad that we sacrificed 2 of those years to make that money so that we had more options to do this Mercedes deal and go big and unlock this next tier.
And can we discuss that?
Yeah.
That play was a 100% success.
Totally worth.
They made so much money, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know what the exact figure was. I pulled that 30 million somewhat out of my ass, but it very well could have been to that order of magnitude.
I mean, it was right when Facebook were like really throwing down the cash.
Yeah,
like they were trying to go humongous on grabbing stuff for the platform, and I would not be shocked if it was higher than that, frankly.
Yeah. So just when you're analyzing this stuff, you have to resist the urge to look at it at this one-to-one, like, yeah, ESL really fucked us. It's like, well, long-term, it was probably a benefit to our Dota 2 esports system. And I would rather live in a world where ESL has some leverage to be able to do stuff like that than one where it's like, hey, you made this thing, but you kind of have to give away part of it for free. And that's what I don't like about it. And it's...
Well... What about the idea of not having to pay the game developer, for example?
What do you mean?
But like, you don't have to license a tournament from Valve, right? You don't have to pay Valve shit.
Yes.
Whereas if I want to run a tournament for a lot of other games, there's this like you have to pay a licensing fee, right?
Okay, I see what you mean.
That's one thing that Valve, that's kind of part of the deal, right? Is that you don't have to pay us for this, but we want this tournament to be like on Dota TV or whatever. Now that's not actually a thing for third party. But I think part of the reason, since you're not paying for that as ESL, there's some debate of just like, maybe you should put it on Dota TV. And I do think like a 10-minute delay is a pretty good compromise, personally.
Well, so I don't mind it being in Dota TV, and even if all TOs are required to broadcast in Dota TV, it's totally free. You're gonna have whatever 5,000, 10,000 people not watching your Twitch stream that are in Dota TV, not seeing logos. I think that's fine. It's the fact that people can take that source and then reproduce it to an additional audience again is where it gets hinky. And I think it's less about the actual damage done by any individual streamer like Bulldog or Gork, and more about the perceived risk from advertisers knowing that it's open for literally anyone to cover it. In theory, right, the perfect storm could happen where we're doing Midas mode. It's such cool content that Topson, Dendy, Bulldog, and Gork all decide to turn on their streams and cast their perspective of it. Add No Tail to it, add Universe, PPD. If all those players are streaming Midas mode, why the fuck would you watch the Midas mode mainstream? Yeah, sure. There's gonna
or
be
maybe you would, but we're gonna lose a hell of a lot.
Yeah,
of people.
there's 5,000 to 10,000 people that'll be hardcore and true to the cause. But the fact is that uncertainty presents a very difficult risk to calculate for those advertisers. Where they're like, well, anybody can just come in, like anybody who's even more popular than you. That's pretty scary. Why would we want to do that? That's what I think is the big problem. It's not that Bulldog is like, oh my God, you took 10% of my viewers and now my advertiser knows. And, it's not that literal one-to-one. It's just a huge degree of uncertainty that from a sales perspective is very hard to argue around. There's not really a great way that you can present that and make it look good.
You really want to dodge that conversation.
Yeah, it's just a shitty aspect of Dota 2, and that is pretty unique to Dota 2. I'm Twitch chat. I challenge you, please. Are there other examples of broadcast rights that work this way, where you have to go to advertisers and say it's just kind of open there?
Fighting games are like that for the most part.
That's probably
Everyone
a good
asks.
example. FGC is its own beast, though. They're propped up by the fact that
restreams.
Entry fees prop up the tournaments, though. Isn't that the big difference with FGC? Almost every tournament you pay to enter.
Yes, but they also still have advertisers.
Oh, sure. I'm just saying, like, their whole model is different because of how it's structured.
I guess it's a straight up restream, though, so you're going to see the ads. So, like, your ads will be shown, but for example, that same idea is still like, like, let's say the best fighting guy doesn't go to your tournament, but he restreams your tournament because he asks for permission, which is a very common thing. It's usually seen as like bad if you say no. From what I've gathered, at least in the FGC, like people kind of look down on your tournament if you say no to restreams.
Yeah, I mean, there is a balance there. Like you said, I think there's value in it, and it is a nice thing to be able to offer. But I mean, even if it's structured where people ask and you give permission, and there is community pressure to give most people permission when it seems reasonable, that sounds like a more fair system where at least the TO has an assessment where they can go, okay.
Do they really have a choice, though?
More of a choice than we have. I'll take that as a half step.
Yeah, but you can't say no. Like it's like it would be like an admin asking if the other team can use your pause time.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no
it's
win.
akin to that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, no, that's our pause time. Oh, well, I guess you guys don't like playing fair.
Well, I mean, it's not like Bulldog is restreaming our ads. That's not even an option. We couldn't ask him you ask him for, hey, Bulldog, you mind covering Midas mode? If you're gonna do it, you want to put our logos on your stream? It's like, fuck no, I don't have to do that. I got my own. No.
Yeah.
So at least in this case, like, you have a little bit of a choice, and they're restreaming your stream rather than making their own product off of it. I mean, you're definitely right, but I still think it's a step in the right direction compared to what we're stuck with right now.
So are you for caked in ads as an option for the TO?
Yeah, I think that, I think that would be a step in the right direction. I think it would help. I don't know that it completely
if anyone
solves
was
it.
Like, because one of the problems, for example, like, let's say you have a competing sponsor to, like, Gork. Gork's an easy example because he's sponsored by Red Bull because he's an OG, right? Let's say your tournament's sponsored by Monster and there's a giant Monster logo on the overlay at all times. Is Gork still going to be able to stream your tournament? Is that still a thing that he can do?
Well, so that's on him and his Red Bull contract. If Red Bull bars him, that doesn't affect me as a TO.
No, that's what I'm saying. But that would be an interesting conundrum for him now.
It does get weird, though. If he's on that stream, there's a Monster logo on the broadcast, but he's drinking a Red Bull. I guess that's that balance of... So my argument would be, I like that because it gives me at least a counterplay when the sponsor says, so what about this broadcast right thing that I've seen on Reddit? What's going on with that? How do we mitigate that risk? If I can say, well, we can guarantee your logo is in the client, and we're going to hire casters that'll give you verbal plugs twice per game, and they can reference what players will be seeing in the client, and we're at least getting you some exposure to that audience. That's something I can start to sell on and build a positive out of.
Yeah, I like that path too. And I think in combination with a 10-minute delay, that solves a lot of these problems, frankly. 100%. I think if you can't beat 10-minute delay and caked in ads, then
yes,
then those people weren't coming to watch you anyway, dog.
I agree. It's just it comes down to incentives, and you want people. You don't want to give sponsors a reason to sponsor other esports just out of the gate before you even really get into the nuts and bolts of what you want to execute. Because I don't think this exists in the same way it does with Dota for other esports. I mean, even
I think
CS:GO has a bit more of a balanced system, I believe.
Yeah, and I see some people saying TO should have 100% rights. In your opinion, and that is that's a somewhat fair take. My only problem with that is that they don't pay a licensing fee to Valve, but I kind of like the community aspect of Dota. I like that people can watch stuff on their channel. You know, again, there's people that just would not watch it if they had 100% only on their stream. You're definitely getting a better reach. So to me, I do like the caked in ads and the delay adding a little bit more. And and I know the 10-minute delay will kind of fuck over the secondary streams, and that's a little intentional. But if you're watching that person, you should be watching for that person, not for necessarily the content of the game and being spoiler free. If you want to close the chat and be spoiler free, sure. But I don't think you can have your cake and eat it too on the secondary stream. So I think that you should have the 10-minute delay personally.
Right, you have to add something that gives the TO stream an inherent advantage, so that it's about having leverage. And then at that point, you can make more of an argument for, well, maybe you guys should try to work with Bulldog and then find a way to let him cast in real time or be part of your event. If there's some leverage to negotiate that, I think you can make that argument. In the current status, the streamers have like 95% of the leverage. So you can't just say, yeah, TOs, just fucking hire them. Believe me, budgets are already pretty tight, and it's not as simple as just, hire every single tier 1 talent you can find. That's why do you think most tournaments hire a spread of talent? They hire Red Eye and Zyori. Guess which one costs more? It's not Zyori. And that's intentional because they couldn't afford to hire 25 Red Eyes. And that's fine. That's part of the system. That's kind of how it works. It's a function of his skill set and his reach on social media and knowing what you're getting when you hire him and how he can run a show. It's complicated. You can't just afford to pay premiums for every single aspect of a production. But I would say also, Trent, the kind of counter argument to it does help the TOs. You get more reach. Does it really translate to more dollars? And I guess part of my brain for this conversation goes to, are we okay with accepting a world in Dota where tier 3 tournament organizers don't really exist beyond the ones that are so ingrained that they're not going to leave? Are we okay with no fresh blood coming into the Dota space from a TO perspective? Are we okay with a world where it's pretty much just DPC that we give a shit about?
I mean, that's where we were before COVID.
Right. And even, now it's just going to keep trending in that way. weplay has been putting up a lot of money still. There are some organizers that will exist, but it's sort of like a plateaued, dying off trend. It's not like the upward climb when we were doing the Summit 1 and Summit 2 and just getting involved in Dota was hype because it was a growing esport. We are like this old dude plateaued esport. When I play Valorant, the people on my team are like, you sound like a broadcaster. Oh, Dota 2, that hard game that old people play. And then they look up my Wikipedia page and go, wow, I was 12 when you started broadcasting. And it's like a real jarring realization of how old Dota is. We're not the cool, trendy esport anymore, man. So we don't want to.
No, we're not even close.
We don't want to add any. Yeah, we don't want to add anything else to the anti-argument of Dota's already not sexy compared to other esports. Let's not add another fucking lump or mole or tumor to our operation here with this fucking open broadcasting shit. I think it's a bit short-sighted unless we don't care about tier 3 tournament organizers. I saw a lot of people posting on Reddit about how this changing the current broadcasting rights would only help corporations and big companies. And I replied, do you think Moonduck's a big company? You think we're a giant corporation? Because this hurts us, man. This hurts the ability for us to execute a potential Midas Mode 3 or Captain's Draft 5 at some point in the future.
We get that fat paycheck from someone.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you think it's a bad thing? Would it be bad if we were mostly just DPC and a couple one-off ESL events here and there?
I mean that's what we are. Am I crazy? That's what we had before COVID.
Yeah, well, sort of. Yeah.
There were no lands left, basically.
Is that good?
I don't know. I think the DBC, like, here's the problem. The DBC is already changing again with a new thing. So that whole system's already gone. You know what I mean? I don't even know what it's going to look like now with the regional leagues after COVID. So it's kind of hard to judge. Right?
I mean, maybe it doesn't matter. That's one of Bulldog's big arguments is like, do you think Valve is a $1 billion company? Do you think they just make bad decisions? Like, so you think that they're just wrong about this, that this is killing tournaments? You know, like I DM'd him, and one of the things that he said was the esports scene isn't dying, Dota's not dying, kind of like, you know, don't be a fear monger kind of thing. And I think he's right from a TI viewership isn't dying. Majors aren't dying. Tier 1 Dota teams, like the top 10 teams in the world, are still getting fantastic viewership when they're matched up on LAN. But everything else below that is very rapidly dying. Did you see that screenshot on Reddit today of the ESL NA games? Grant with 3.5K viewers and ESL with 800 viewers?
That had minigame circumstance, though. That was a really old channel. I don't know why weren't they on the regular ESL Dota? What was up with that?
I have no fucking idea.
Are they embarrassed? They just know that Grant's going to destroy them. They don't want people to find the mainstream?
I honestly don't know. I think you're right. That was a particularly goofy example, but still indicative of just those numbers are low in general. Like that Beat Esports event that we had just covered, they didn't make money on that. It's not like the viewers weren't bad, but it was,
yeah.
I mean, these are lower than viewer numbers for NA Dota we had like 5 years ago. It's not growing. Shit is plateaued in some of these regions. And
I mean, I can't blame NA viewership plateauing. Jesus.
Yeah.
You want to watch NA Dota if you're not casting it? Because I don't.
You're not wrong. I guess not. I wanted to say yes, but I
want to watch like my friends, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, I mean, Bulldog is right in that regard, though. I don't think Dota is dying from the tier 1. I just think Dota is going the way of the American economy. The rich are getting richer. The poor are getting poorer. The middle class is dying/dead. And there is deceleration in terms of mobility across the tiers. And
well, again, though, there's so many things that were supposed to change with like the new regional leagues, for example.
Yeah. In the case of North America, I think it's too little too late. All the players I've talked to, I'm like, who are the lower division teams for NA? And
dude, I can't wait. It's everyone, be me.
Everyone, players, casters alike have said Veggie Esports are going to win the lower division. They're like, it's going to be a total shit show. Like the 10 through 16 teams are non-existent. It's going to be just like random pub stacks of try-hard NA Doters.
Wait. Coddle guy, I'm sorry. Are you suggesting that Blast Pro Series are not just in the goodness of their heart suddenly getting to Dota, that they might want the EU CIS contract?
So, but this dynamic in Dota of the way TI prize pools are set up and the tier 1 teams being the only thing people want to watch. It's like EG will get you 20K viewers. Everyone else in North America is like 3 to 5K viewers. That spread is getting wider. So if you're like one esports and you're backed by this giant fighting company and you have all this money, okay, yeah, sure, you could still afford to operate in Dota and it's sort of effective-ish in terms of the viewership turnout because you can get the true tier 1 teams. But it is like becoming impossible for these 100K Midas Mode 3 type of events. Teams are increasingly getting disinterested in that because it's just not worth their time. And the amount of money you need to meet their opportunity costs, because all these tier 1 teams have so much money in the bank from winning so many millions of dollars over the last half decade, it doesn't work financially. We can't sell enough ads for the viewership to meet the prize pools to do the production we want. And you're just sort of left with, all right, hopefully PGL will hire me to cast something this year because they're the only ones that can afford to run events. So I'm probably biased in this whole equation because we're like we're on that weird cusp of we're like a tier 1.5, tier 2 event organizer that still kind of relies on tier 1 teams. And I think people like us just don't have a place in Dota anymore, financially speaking. Beat Esports are the same. You know, all these kind of community run, all these fun events, the incentives just aren't there, and tier 2 Dota is just not profitable.
What do you think about bringing back chests then? That was another big discussion that people were bringing up.
I would love it. Valve won't do it, I can guarantee you, but I would love it.
Why do you think they won't bring it back?
Because they want to save it for TI, dude. The TI it's a monster they can't control. Now the prize pool has to be so big, it has to keep breaking records for as long as possible. So they have to put as much money as possible. All the resources are focused on raising for TI. They don't want to share.
Can I put a chat poll here, guys? All right, type 1 if you buy chests throughout the year, like a decent amount, and type 2 if you only buy stuff during TI. Can I get like a? I'll put the 0. Damn you, Tostress.
So, I'm curious to see how this pans out, but I think
because
it's
like
perceived
I look
risk.
at a chest that comes out, I legitimately don't buy them. I never see anything that looks that good.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know if they have hard data that opening it up to third-party tournaments again, like we did with the Summit 1 and Summit 2, would actually, or Captain's Draft even, would ruin TI crowdfunding. But I think that's the concern, that there's only and it also is hard to manage. You have to deal with picking and choosing who gets in. People want to add all these sets, and how do you decide what sets are good enough? But some sets are too good because Valve wants to save them for TI or workshop stuff. It's a bitch to manage. And from what I remember,
yeah, but it's so profitable. It's got to be profitable.
It's the classic Valve thing. We don't hire people for specific jobs. I remember every time we do a different tournament, there'd be a new person in charge of getting stuff approved for the game because they couldn't find an employee to stick with it because they all hated it. It's shitty, thankless work where you have to be unbiased but still make biased decisions of, okay, which tournaments deserve the best cosmetics. We still get a month every month from Valve, or we still get a check every month from Valve for the Captain's Draft 3 set that we got into the game. That still sells. It's that Juggernaut sword or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, like they know the amount of power it has, and it has the ability to
they want it all for themselves.
Make or break tournament budgets, so it's going to make the TI budget. That's, you know, it's the way it is.
I agree in the idea of just, can we please just cap it, man? Can we just slap it at 25 mil, 20 mil, 15 mil? Like, come on.
I wish. There are ways you could reallocate.
I mean, again, they are trying to spread the money. I feel like we're saying all these things and not appreciating that we were supposed to have these regional leagues because, at least theoretically, it seems like that was a situation that was going to be improved.
So I think that helps. The regional leagues help, but in terms of broadcast rights, like, are we going to have this first season where it's totally open and all these people pay these prize pools on the... This is what's happened. They've changed the circuit, and every time they change it, these people come in and put in proposals for events that are not profitable with a plan to become profitable over time. They're putting in their cards, hoping that it'll be an investment in the future to get in good with Valve's system when there's an opportunity like this during, like, a, quote, reset, you know, a change in structure. So what happens when most of those people get burned? You know, you spend all this money for tier 2 division rights, and then you can't sell ads on it. Nobody watches it. Everyone's like, wow, we paid $140,000 for these NA teams to scrim each other that nobody watched. I don't know why we did this. It'll sort of be like the year that we did our Captain's Draft LAN, when it was just open. You know, anybody who's, quote, got the money can sign up. And we got 4 GESC events, and you know, there were all those canceled majors and minors, and it was kind of a shit show. And most of those events lost money. They were investing in trying to get in with Valve to secure themselves a seat in future circuits. A stupid move. I'm not saying that was a smart business idea. It was great from Valve, but the more times we repeat this cycle of creating a system that's not sustainable and just burning people that are investing in futures is not really great for us long term.
That's true.
That's what I'm scared of.
But they just keep coming, though.
You're
know what
right.
I mean?
You are right.
That showing up.
I think that's what Valve would say. I think if there was
that's exactly what Valve
anonymous
would say.
Valve man calls in.
I've heard them say it.
Yeah.
I heard them say, but people keep paying.
They'd say, but Zyori, this system we just announced, I've got 3 proposals for North America. Everything you said about, but what if nobody applies? Cool. I've got 5 applications. So you tell me what's going on here, bitch. That's capitalism, and I have no counter argument. You're totally right, dog. I'll hand that one over. So maybe I don't understand economics as well as I think I do. Maybe that's.
I don't think anyone. That's the secret. No one actually knows what's going on. Let's be real. The only person who knows are the senators, and they just get the information ahead of time.
But I will say the crowdfunding was huge, though. It enabled Moonduck. It enabled Beyond the Summit. It enabled Join Dota. All these Russian studios.
Do you remember Dota Pit Season 3?
We had
that Pudge set that had, like, it was like me and Mott and Gerg and it was this Pudge set with like these big green injector things. Holy shit! That they made so much money. I'm sure DotaPut's still running off that chest.
Oh, probably.
Like, I can't even imagine how much money they're still getting from that because it funded the entire tournament. Like, it was an $80,000 base prize pool. The final prize pool was $265,000. And that was 25% of every purchase of the compendium and 10% of every chest contributed to the prize pool. And it went up almost $200,000.
Yeah.
That's fucking insane.
That was the golden era of chests, man. That was...
Like, you had to pay $10 for the Dota TV ticket. Oh my god, dude. I had so many tickets. Oh. And I wonder how much of that was Valve. Now, there's the question. So, like, 25% of every purchase of the compendium went to the prize pool, and 10% of every chest. Now, if my math's correct, I believe Valve usually gets 75%. So Valve got all the money off of the compendium, I'm guessing here.
So,
and 25% went to the tournament, and then Dota Pit, the org, took 15% of every chest and put 10% in the prize pool.
I think that is the right analysis. When we were doing that stuff for the early summits, it was set up like, okay, of all the revenue, it starts with 75-25. 75 goes to Valve, 25 goes to BTS. Of that 25, you get to decide the threshold of how much goes to prize pool and how much goes into your pocket. So
let us hunt whales again.
I think at the time we
please, Val.
We were doing
some blubber.
I think we did like a 25% split, so 20% to prize pool, 5% to company, or something like that. Because you want as much of it to visibly go to the prize pool as possible, and then you monetize in other ways through sponsors and Twitch ads and all that kind of shit.
Right, because you get sponsors and then you essentially pay yourself.
But it still greatly alleviates. Like, if you could tell me tomorrow that, hey, we could do Midas Mode 3, we're going to sell a chest, and we'll raise at least $150,000 in prize pool from sales, so Moonduck doesn't have to put up any prize pool, just cover the cost of the event. I could make Midas Mode 3 happen pretty easily. If you take the prize pool out of the equation, it's pretty achievable. So you can split it up however you want, though. So that's how I would assume Dota Pit did it. And the chests were the real money makers, though, dude. I remember
that is actually insane, though.
The chests were fucking bananas.
I gotta get the calculator out here, guys.
Yeah, it
so
adds
up. We started
up
with
quick.
80K, right? Well, what do we have? 265,378 minus 80,000. That's 185,000, and then that's only 25% of what they made. And the other, but that's insane.
Yep.
So multiply that by 3. So Valve made $556,000, 134 from Dota Pit chests.
Yep.
That seems pretty good.
It is good. So here's the thing, though. I think it also, opening this up to third-party tournaments, accelerates the rate that items hit critical mass in Dota. Because I think if you analyze the life cycle of Dota, there is a limit on hats, right? There becomes a certain point where having, 5...
Have you ever played TF2?
Well, but there are diminishing returns. Why do you think they don't put any effort into TF2 anymore? There's like diminishing returns over time once every hero has 5 immortal level, like, picture Lion or Axe that just like, I don't even know what's going on here anymore. There's just particles coming out of every item that he's got. It's just a giant ball of disco. There's a point where Dota becomes Heroes of the Storm, where we're riding around on unicorns and doing all sorts of fucking crazy shit that's just completely breaks the immersion. And Heroes of New Earth suffered from that. They accelerated their cosmetics too quickly to the point that you have cyborgs running around. You got Miranas throwing toothbrushes. I don't know what the fuck's happening. Seriously, they had a Valkyrie set where she's like cyborg toothbrush future, like, brush your teeth, bitch, just jamming them down people's throats. And it's not good for the game, and eventually it starts to turn people off, and it makes future sales more difficult. So I think Valve wants to keep that acceleration in check and reserve the big jumps for TI shit. They're not giving Wisp Arcana to anybody else. Like, I think Starladder were also on that boat of they were presenting sets that were truly 10 out of 10, and they were getting rejected because Valve was like, shit's too good. Sorry, we're not going to give you guys particles. We want the particles. That's $1 million set right there. We're not giving you all that money, Starladder. Come on now. You guys need like a $200,000 set. We need something, for the plebeian Dota folks out there.
Oh, God. It's just so much. It's like, it reminds me of Nintendo. Where like you just think like, why doesn't Nintendo just make Melee on the Switch? Why? Why don't you want free money? And then people come up with all these bullshit reasons why it wouldn't work, but it would work. You would just make money. Surely. I don't understand. Nintendo, why don't you just make a Pokemon game that's not ass? Why don't you want to be rich?
You got to remember that Nintendo's Japanese, and their business culture is just so
They're very
different
special.
to anything that we can really relate to. Their brand, Nintendo is a true black sheep, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Oh my god.
But they do have some wins. I think the most recent Animal Crossing was a pretty big win for Nintendo.
It sold. I think it was the fastest selling on the console. I think it outpaced Ultimate.
Its viral spread on social media between like the amount of celebrities playing it, like, hey, Elijah Wood popped into my island, all that kind of shit. It's ripe for that. Like I saw like Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones, Arya Stark was tweeting about trying to figure out how to set up a Twitch stream so she could stream herself playing Animal Crossing. Part of me wanted to DM her like, yo, what do you need to know? Because I'd love to help you out here. Let's play Animal Crossing.
I mean, I just love how God, why am I passing out his name right now? Who's the guy who played Frodo? Fuck.
Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood. Yeah, did you already say that? Sorry?
I just said that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. But did you see that thing where he literally just tweeted like, "Who's got turnip money?"
Yeah, dude. It's awesome.
Just gets invited to someone's island.
So Asa Butterfield was playing it. It's such a wholesome game. It's as an adult, it reminds me of like Pixar stuff. It's sort of made for kids, but it has little adult Easter eggs in there, and it's not alienating adults. You know, it's sort of designed to be like parents can appreciate it, children can appreciate it. I think the Nahaz screenshot I saw tweeted today was the perfect epitome of that. He was visiting his daughter's island. They were both tricked out in their sunglasses and various Animal Crossing garb.
That's pretty cute.
Dedication.
I didn't see that.
Dude, that was I'm going to pull it up and drop a link because it actually warmed my heart when I woke up this morning.
That looks like Nahaz. He's in a samurai outfit. That's so Nahaz. It's great. That's perfect.
Yeah, I love how
I
much.
don't know. Do you guys know that Nahaz has like proficiencies in weapons? Like Nahaz is literally the I've been training with the blade while you guys were playing Dota. That's actually Nahaz. He's got like wooden staffs and shit.
He knows how to swing a sword.
I think he knows how to do it all. He knows like a bunch of different weapons.
Is he a LARPer?
No, he's like a fucking serious dude who does like what I can't remember what it's called. Kendo, I think it's called, right? With like the big staff. He does all that kind of shit, like martial arts.
Oh shit, dude.
Yeah, you do not want to fuck with Nahaz.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah. I don't know if he does the sword too, but he's got it all.
Wow. Damn.
Now, speaking of, actually, since we're on the topic of Nintendo Switch anyway, did you guys see Nintendo just fucking drop the fact that a new Paper Mario game's coming out? That's pretty hype. They were just like on Twitter like, oh, surprise, guys. Boom. New Paper Mario. So let's fingers crossed that it'll be like the old Paper Marios, not the trash new ones. We can only hope. But we'll see. Everyone just assumes it'll be bad. But we're just going to hope it's good.
The Switch has been slaying it. I'm actually going to pull up. For a while there, Nintendo stock was like keeping my portfolio afloat. Let's see how she's doing. They've been kind of immune to the economic issues.
Thanks to Animal Crossing.
Partially, and I think Switches, just like the units themselves, have been selling out like crazy. You know,
they can't keep stock.
There's certain products in the lockdown that have sold extra, like televisions, monitors, gaming consoles. There were a few others that I'm spacing on. Those are the big three that I keep reading about of like, yo, we cannot keep our 4K monitors in stock. 144 hertz monitors have been sold out on Amazon like crazy. So yeah, over the last 3 months, Nintendo is up 15%.
That's pretty impressive.
That's pretty good. Relative to the economic conditions, I think that's solid. For example, Google is down 10% over the last 3 months. So that's... Yeah, go Nintendo, man.
There was something else. Oh, yeah. Did you ever play Terraria?
I have not. I know a little bit about it, but I've never played.
I was just talking about this with my friends actually this morning, and I saw some mention in chat. But you guys probably remember when Terraria first came out. That was a long time ago. It's been like 3 or 4 years now. It was a pretty big hit at the time. And the devs, I think that's what started funding all of Chucklefish, if I'm not remembering completely incorrectly. I feel like are those two related? Am I crazy here? Oh, maybe I am crazy.
wish I
Sorry.
knew.
I think I'm getting two things mixed up. Either way, Terraria came about 8 years ago. Oh, holy shit. Was it really that long ago?
That
Oh
sounds
my
about
god.
right.
2011. Okay, yeah, it's way longer. Yeah, I'm thinking about something else. So anyway, so Terraria came out like 8 years ago. That's when I first played it. Like I have not played this game in like I thought it felt like way longer than 4 or 5 years. That makes way more sense. But the final update comes out on Saturday. That's tomorrow, guys. The last update of Terraria. That is insane.
That's it. So it's like the very end.
It's called Journey's End. That's what the update is called. Yeah, I was thinking about Starbound. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking that the two were related,
Wow.
and it got launched somehow because Starbound's also dope. But yeah, it's apparently has a ton of new updates, over 1,000 new items. Absolutely insane, and that'll be the 9-year anniversary tomorrow. Wow,
That's pretty badass.
and that's all from like an indie game essentially. That is crazy. Like, that's gotta be. I mean, it's hard to compare to like things like Minecraft that obviously are just sort of the same idea, but just explode to such a huger degree. But there's not a lot of games like Terraria that have such a long-lasting timeline. So it's if you guys have never played it, it's time. It's an excellent game. There's no doubt.
It's cheap too, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's like $10.99 right now, Canadian.
Yeah.
Yo, shout out to Steam lowering the cost of everything with Canadian dollars. They buffed the Canadian dollar on Steam in the patch.
Dude. Dude, that's what I'm talking about. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Go Leafs. Wow. All right, well, that's exciting. That's a good quarantine game for you.
Oh yeah, it's very fun co-op. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
You guys should definitely get in on the Terraria. What else have I been playing? I think I'm still playing the same games as last week.
Yeah, I haven't been playing Animal Crossing a lot, but I have to admit I do enjoy it when I'm in the mood for it. It's the perfect Sunday night. I just had a late lunch. I don't have much to do. I'm just kind of relaxing, watching some House on Amazon Prime, something like that. It's the perfect chill game where there's no sense of urgency. You're just catching butterflies, putting them in the museum, digging up fossils. There's a degree of zen. I think it gives me nostalgia to back when I used to play The Sims 2 on PC when I was in like 5th grade.
Dude, so many hours.
There aren't a lot of games that have that complete lack of sense of urgency. Talk to Blathers, what should I be doing? Well, you could just enjoy island life. All right. I'm going to go look at the ocean then, I guess. See you later, Blathers. Thanks again.
That's pretty. You found the game, dude.
Oh, God. Real quick, though, before we get too far off and wrap this thing up, I do want to say that amongst all of the opinions with this Dota 2 broadcast right stuff, I think there was one that was objectively right outside of everyone else.
I'm ready. Is it
right
Alan?
here. Well, he might have been objectively right about some things because I did retweet a few Nahaz tweets.
Oh, okay.
I liked what he had to say. But it was capitalist. I'm going to read it verbatim here. Props to Kyle for making the effort to writing that post. It's good for community awareness and conversation. At the end of the day, though, nobody but TOs have the position and numbers to lobby for change. The onus is on them to make a compelling enough argument to Valve. Basically saying, hey, Valve is a data-driven company, and if you really want to see change, the people that are claiming to be negatively affected by this need to collect some fucking data, put it into a document, and send it to somebody at Valve and say, yo, this is what we're missing out on. This is why it hurts. Please help us. Here are the numbers. And until somebody can do that, it's probably extreme to expect significant change coming from Valve. You got to make a data-driven argument. And I think he's 100% right, and it makes me sad that I don't have that data. But I don't think the data from Midas Mode will be particularly useful or relatable to your average Captain's Mode type event.
In the end, people are they're still putting on tournaments. So Valve kind of have the upper hand. They're like, okay, so you think that's a problem? Yeah. So why are you still doing Dota tournaments? It's kind of a dick way to put it, but it's kind of the truth.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
I think you're right. And it's hard to delineate because a lot of the folks that do Dota turns, like look at DreamHack. It's not about individual Dota events making money. It's about Dota being a piece of their portfolio and they sell on the entire portfolio. It's the DreamHack Monster Energy Studios. Monster gets branding on whatever's in the studios, and Dota is just one thing that they do throughout the year. amongst all these other esports. So it's hard to quantify that specific. You really have to be deep in the data to pull that kind of stuff out. And same with Dota Pit. It's like just because Dota Pit is doing events doesn't mean that Dota Pit is making money off of events or not struggling financially. It's hard to assess. There's a separation between the organizer and the sponsors. The sponsors are the driver of the revenue. That doesn't mean there won't be tournament organizers that are propped up by investment dollars or willing to take on a bunch of financial risk, but in the end will crap out by not being able to sell sponsors. Like, why do you think you're seeing all these esports teams post job listings for business development and sales managers and partnerships managers? It's because all of them have pretty much reached the max of what they can get in terms of investment dollars. They've got these giant hundreds of $1 million inflated valuations, and now they need to prove to these investors that they can generate some return on value. So they are selling hard. There's more competition in the esports space than ever before in terms of sales teams trying to break non-endemics and get those dollars into their team, their game, their vertical. So Dota is competing with all of these other esports, all of these other ad sales opportunities, and we need to find a niche that makes us competitive because the other games are all trying to do that as they realize how important these sponsorship dollars are. /rant.
Yeah, let's keep it going. Yay, Dota, please live. That's all I ask.
Right.
I love Dota. I don't want it to go away.
But shout out to Kyle for real, though.
Yes, that was a nice post.
I like that post a lot. I think it was very well written. I would like to see Kyle write more. I don't know if like a book is too long for him, but I know he reads a lot, but his writing style is really engaging. It's a good mix of, it's a little gonzo-y, it's very first person, it's very emotional, but it sucks you in a way. You feel like you're reading kind of the way somebody talks, not like a textbook.
He can put that on the back of his book.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So
we'll see. Balls in your court, else? Valve.
Yeah, pretty much. And TOs.
Or TOs. DreamHack, balls in your court. Come on, man.
Don't destroy. All I ask is I still want some way for Grant and Bulldog and Gork to still do their thing. If it means it's more delayed, fine. If it means there's kicked on ads, fine. But I do still think there is value in that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't want to kill the Grant streams.
I do not want to see a flat-out ban. I agree. I am totally willing to compromise. I think we just need to shift the scale from 95-5 on the TO streamer leverage to more like, 70-30, 60-40, 50-50 might even be too much to ask. I'm willing to give because streamers are popular. At the end of the day, entertainment is a popularity contest. Esports is entertainment. That's part of the system we're working in, and I'm okay with that. All I'm asking is to have a little more on my side so that I can get a piece.
Oh yeah, and don't DMCA anyone. That was really done by weplay. We didn't talk about that, but that was just like, dog. Just read the broadcast policy. You can't DMCA people.
weplay.
Come on, guys.
I love you. I get you're trying. I understand why you think it's unfair, but Jesus Christ, you wrote in that post. Now we all know that nobody can DMCA anybody but Valve. But we went ahead and filed a DMCA. I read that 3 times and just shook my head like, guys.
They have the worst lawyers, I swear. I don't know who writes their Reddit comments. They need to take that account away from whoever runs the WePlay.
You need an English-first community manager to post on Reddit, man. Like, I just that statement alone was, do you guys understand what any of this means? Do you know what DMCA is? Because, oh, God, that was infuriating. I did legitimately feel bad for, is it Cold Fox? I don't even know who the guy is, but I looked into the story. I came to his defense on Twitter. I hope it helped Cold Fox because I felt bad for the poor guy.
Yeah, it's just like, just don't. just get off that. I mean, that account, remember, that was the same account that said, I guess Sunsfan couldn't travel. Yeah, he was never asked. Yeah. I guess Sunsfan was too busy. I really like you guys and asked about working this, but didn't get a response.
Yeah. It's
just ignores him and then keeps saying the same thing further down in the thread.
Yeah, although I guess I shouldn't say I feel bad for WePlay given all that, but I feel a little bad because someone in the Zyori Discord asked, like, well, how should WePlay have gone about starting this conversation? And my response was, I don't think they wanted to start this conversation. I think they thought nobody would notice if they DMCA some Brazilian YouTuber that no English speakers ever heard of, and they got and accidentally spun up this whole conversation again. And I think that's partially why they were mysteriously silent after their first response and then just reversed the DMCA. And that was it. Then weplay just kind of slowly drifted away from the conversation, and it evolved into a kind of broader drama with Kyle and Bulldog. And I mean, even Bulldog went back and deleted some tweets. So there's been some back and forth on all sides, I guess.
I mean, if you're Bulldog or Gork, you just, say you're following the policy and just stay out of it,
and
man.
Just keep streaming.
Keep doing your thing.
Trent, there were good people on both sides, okay?
Ah, well, so well said. Oh, my goodness. What a great line.
Oh, God. All right. Well, that felt good. I think I got everything off my chest that I wanted to say about broadcast rights for like the 5th podcast now.
Have we forgotten anything? I think someone was mentioning there's more artifact updates, but we're not big artifact experts, guys, so I can't promise you that we're going to know anything about it, but check out the Valve blogs. I'm still keeping tabs on it. Again, I'm looking forward to it returning.
I need to do another Slacks call-in. Bait did not disband, though there are some roster changes afoot right now. So we've mentioned this before, like the one dark side of the current system, like at first, after the lock-in started, we were all just excited to have content. Like, we were worried there'd be no tournaments. Now I'm just glad there's tournaments. And now there's almost too many tournaments, and without the structure of DPC, there's no real format to, well, how do we trade players or do roster swaps or whatever? It's just tournament chaos. And it's hard for forming a new team when you know, okay, this is a new roster. We're going to try this. If it doesn't work, we're going to try something else. And if it does work, we're going to stick with it. And if you go the route of, okay, this didn't work, we need to make some changes, there's no date or plan or strategy to trade around. Like, all right, here's the 2 weeks where we're going to trade players. You have to just start trying to probe players without really cannibalizing teams, but you know that will be the end result. I mean, isn't that sort of the situation with Na'Vi? Didn't they drop out of something because they've had roster issues now? Similar conundrum of, okay, we know we're going to make changes, but you can't swiftly make those changes because teams are signed up and registered and have different schedules. It's a little too chaotic right now in terms of team management. So changes are in the works, but it's a little tough out there, Trent.
It is indeed. Last thing, shout out to OG for trying to tackle the stolen content channels. Did you see this post?
No. What happened here?
Have you seen all of these, like, the fake streamers that pop up? You know, these ones that, like, Thompson 8.5 or whatever, and it's just Thompson's gameplay with the scam links, and they have the free Arcanas and the bots and everything.
I have seen those. Yeah.
OG have put out a big statement on their website saying that they are working on a solution, and they will take action against it. They've listed all their, like, their primary accounts. I'm guessing they're getting a ton of DMs because they seem to be targeting OG players a lot because they're obviously very popular. And so they're like, these are our official channels. Please don't trust any other ones. But it's kind of out of their hands. They don't even mention anything about like communicating with Twitch or anything.
But isn't this tangentially related to this whole broadcast rights issue? Because it all has to do with Dota TV, pubs being accessible in Dota TV.
No. It's not pubs. It's literally their content.
Oh, it's just straight up their stolen
It's just
content.
a straight up restream of like with his webcam and shit.
Oh, well, why can't they just DMCA that? Why is that?
They can, but they just make another one instantly. That's the problem. It's literally just bots and stuff.
So it's the arms race of it's automated. It's kind of like those Bitcoin bots on Twitter. You ban one and it just generates a new one. Okay, I see.
Yeah. And they just bought it, so it instantly has like 5,000 viewers, and so it gets to the top of the list, so people click it, they think it's real, they click for the free Arcana, and then they lose all their items.
I mean, that's like a Twitch solution, though. Like, that's like you need some sort of technical back end. You need to verify accounts before they can go. That is the real conundrum of free platforms. Anything that is free, you just make a new Gmail account, is sort of abusable in that regard, where you can't threaten to ban people the same way
like
you can.
Smurfing in Dota.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to balance it with the new user experience. You know, you don't want to punish genuine new users that are just starting to get used to your platform because of bots that abuse it. You know, you don't want to have to make people do like trial tweets before they're approved to use Twitter, because then new users just won't use Twitter.
Yeah.
Same with Dota, right? You have to allow people to play ranked at some point, or else they're just going to lose interest and not play. You can't say, sorry, you don't have your 10,000 hours yet. Then you can join with the big boys in ranked matchmaking. That's not a very sexy sales pitch. So well, good on you, OG. That's a tough one to crack, but yeah, I hate that shit.
Get them.
Get them. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yeah.
Well,
I think that's it, guys.
We'll be back again next week. Of course, appreciate all of your listenership out there. Find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google, all those other places that most people listen to podcasts. It's really just Spotify and iTunes. That's the big one. Appreciate.
Yeah, don't forget to head over to
all your
Gaming
downloads
Without
there.
Borders right now. Our friend Jenkins is there, basically replacing me because I couldn't do it this weekend. So Jenkins is on it with Aries hosting their little panel right now.
What is the deal with that, real quick? What was the TLDR? It's a charity event, right?
I believe it's by some big. I just heard big oil money. I don't actually know where the money's coming from, but it's some large sponsorship, and it's all COVID plus prize pool for the teams and stuff. And they're just they're raising money, and they paid a lot of people to stream it.
I hesitate to say this because it's hearsay, but I heard that it was Middle Eastern money behind this.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's a lot of money, whatever it is.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true, so I won't say any more. But yeah, I heard there was some connection to Middle East for some reason. I don't know why or what or how it got started, but that
was
would
a
explain...
$10 million prize pool across different games and everything. It's pretty insane.
Yeah. I think it might be oil money. It's like a Saudi thing. But
sounds good to me, dude.
Yeah.
As long as it's money for charity and some Dota players,
it's true.
Do it up.
If it's going to a good place, then who are we to complain, right?
Yep.
All right, very good. Well, we'll catch you next time, folks. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.